Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. This is the full spoiler review. I have a spoiler-free review up on soundofbettermyhead.com. If you want to check that out, go for it. I ended up giving this a 2 out of 5. It just really wasn't that great. It was just, honestly, overall, it just did nothing for me. I didn't really laugh. I didn't really get excited. I didn't really feel any emotions. It was just kind of there. To be honest, I could have probably gave it a lower grade if I didn't see the previous Ghostbusters. I think there was a lot of goodwill to these characters. I overall liked enough of the last film that goodwill carries over to this film, or I'm willing to give these guys a chance because I liked them in the last movie. If I didn't see the last one, I came and watched this one, I'd probably think it was pretty weak. One big problem about the movie, and again, this is another one that falls in the marketing department. All the really cool stuff you see in the trailer, like the ice comes across the beach, this big demon with the horns, like seems like all the major stuff is the final 10 minutes of this movie. So it's like you already know what it's building towards because the trailers essentially ruined it. So it's like you're just kind of like, okay, let's get to the ice stuff, and it's like it really doesn't hit until late. And it's like, other than that, the plot is just kind of dropping a lot of weird hints that don't seem to add up. Like, oh, here's this fire station, all these guys got froze to death, and here's this mysterious woman with an orb. And then the orb shows up again, and then this thing gets dropped. There's a lot of talk about the containment unit getting filled. And it's like those little bits and pieces where it's like, they're slowly putting this puzzle together, and it's like, you kind of already know the answer because the trailer's like, this is what's going to happen. So, I don't know. It was just a weird way it worked out. Again, I don't know if the film would have worked better if I didn't know where it was going. Or it makes it worse because I know where it was going, and I'm just kind of getting impatient. And the plot happens so quickly, too. It's just like I said, it's setting pieces of motion, then it's like, boom. Here's a bad guy. And granted, there's a little bit in the original Ghostbusters where there's kind of like odds and ends happening, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Gozer's here. But I think the first film is so much more fun to watch that you don't notice that it's like moving these pieces like kind of slowly. Character-wise, I don't think you needed the original Ghostbusters in here. I think they were used pretty good in the first one. They were basically passing the torch to like this new generation. And it's like, I don't mind that they show up, but they got a big enough role where it's like, now you're juggling multiple characters. It's almost a little bit how the Jurassic World movie was, that tried to throw in the Jurassic Park characters, although it's a little bit done better here because they were introduced in the previous film and they did have some interaction. And it is a kind of a big jump. It's like, okay, the family were all living out of state, and then it's like they all decided to move to New York to be Ghostbusters, and Paul Rudd's character, he was just dating, started dating their mom, and it's like they went on like one date and they got possessed, and now it's like they're kind of together, but they're not. Like, they don't want to, the movie doesn't want to commit to the fact that he's in this weird state between kind of almost being like part of the family, but not. Like, it's weird how they did it, and it's a little cliche. And I think, just especially jumping from where the last movie was to go into this one, it's kind of like, okay, what are they doing here? Like, either make them either get these two engaged or whatever you want to do with the two of them. And then they also find random reasons for other characters to go there. Like, you got basically Finn Wolfhard's character had a little of a love interest in the first movie, she was really useless to the plot, to be honest. And then here she just kind of randomly shows up like, oh yeah, I'm working out here in New York too doing this. And then she kind of get randomly shoehorned in the plot of like, all right, now I'm fighting with the Ghostbusters. And then Podcast is also just kind of thrown in there. Apparently he's working with Ray, and again, it's like everyone just kind of ends up in New York for like plot contrivance, basically. And Podcast is all right in this one. It'd still be nice if they actually gave him a fucking name instead of just calling him Podcast. But I kind of like the slightly more mature version of him. Like, the actor's actually got a little bit older. I think it kind of like gives him a little bit more of an edge than he had in the last one. Not in a bad way, just like, oh yeah, he's grown up now. He's just not as wacky as a kid, I guess. Phoebe's still the strongest character in the movie, but she lost a lot of that charm she had in the last one. She was kind of, not much wrong, but she's in her own little world. She's super smart. She's not this most social character. And here, the best they could do for her is like, well, you're not allowed to Ghostbust because you're a teenager. And then, not just her, but I'll get back to her in a minute. But also another shoehorn character. Winston's got this whole new Ghostbusters thing that he's setting up, and he's got this whole crew. So now he's got this technician that, he's in a couple scenes early. I'm like, okay, he's just in a couple scenes. And this guy suddenly becomes like part of the whole thing. So you got the original Ghostbusters, the new Ghostbusters, like they're associates. Then you add not only that, but you got this firebender character that's thrown in, and I'll probably say his name wrong, but Kumail Nanjiani. I like his humor. I think he's funny. I think it's almost a little too much here. Like it's like, okay, it's almost not as bad as Chris Hemsworth in the all-girl Ghostbusters movie, where he's funny, but they just overdo it and they overuse him. They get close here. Najani. I thought Annie Potts really didn't need to be there. It's just too many characters. It's like not much of anything to do. It's fairly cliche. They almost rip off a scene. Not that I'm sure Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse didn't invent this scene, but they almost rip off a scene where Paul Rudd's talking to the door to Phoebe and giving her this big, speech about family, and she doesn't answer him back. And it would have been like maybe something that got through to her about family, but in this version, she's not actually in the room. She's somewhere else, which makes it even weirder at the end when she suddenly like accepts him as her dad, and just out of the blue calls him dad. Like I never felt like that moment was earned whatsoever. I think that little speech might have held. Maybe she was the one that was leery about him coming into the family as the dad. So that I don't think that speech. I don't think that worked. I think it actually would have been more emotional, if anything, if the mom was like, "Oh, she accidentally called him fiance or something, or husband." I think that would have been a bit more of a earned moment. The movie has, just like I said, there's a lot of shit that has to happen to make the plot work, and you got characters that have to do some really dumb shit to like Ray gets his orb, he tests it, that blows up his EK meter, it sends like a psychic surge all around, shit's icing up, and he's like, it's safe to get to these like technicians at Zedmore's lab, and unsupervised. I don't care what kind of things in here. They're just going to extract the ghost like any other ghost and call it a day. Like it never crosses Ray's mind that this thing's pretty interesting or possibly dangerous. He's like, all right, I'm going to take it, do what you want. And then this is extra contrived method of getting the ghost out of objects, and it's only set up so you can have like a waiting booth before it goes on to like the containment chamber. And that was only there so that later in the film Phoebe can be temporarily separated from her body and be like a ghost for a couple minutes. And then this film gets to this odd place where it's like, because you got a ghost you could actually talk to with Melody and interact with and ask questions, it's like you start really getting weird into like the actual afterlife aspect of Ghostbusters and what it means to be a ghost and what happens after you're a ghost. And I don't think this franchise is ever meant to get that deep into this subject. So it's like they try not to get too deep into it. I think they just go superficial, but it gets really weird that you could sit there and talk to a ghost in a Ghostbusters movie like that. And again, so basically from the plot to work, either the big ghost god is a fucking genius and just could plan all the shit out like so many steps ahead, or it's just like he's just got so lucky with his plan, because basically his plan was I need to shut the containment down so that this possession ghost could get out, hitch a ride with somebody until hopefully they find this old recording that he needed, and then he could steal that. And if that doesn't work, then he's going to convince Melody to get Phoebe to decide that she needs to separate her spirit from her body so they could be on the same plane together. Which, I don't even know how anybody even knew that would even work. Not even Phoebe, not even this dark guy. How would anybody know that this device could actually take this person's soul out and let him be a ghost is ridiculous to begin with. The fact that Phoebe had to get to this low point so that she would even do that, and to have an only friend in Melody, nothing he did set up this low point for her, unless he told the possessed spirit, okay, I need you to possess this lion, actually, make him think you want this little cylinder, and then she'll destroy the lion, and then the mayor of New York will come down on her so hard that she'll feel bad and go run into the arms of this ghost. Like, it's so nonsensical the way for any of this shit to work. Then on top of that, she's like, I'm just gonna become a ghost for 2 minutes. Like, I mean, it's kind of hinted that she's got maybe like a romantic interest in Melody, but it's not like there's a line where it's like, man, it'd be nice if we could at least touch. It's like just randomly she's like, I'm gonna be a ghost for 2 minutes, and like, I don't, what are you gonna make out for 2 minutes? I don't even know what the purposes of that was. It seems so just weird. It just none of it made any sense, and it was just there to like progress the plot to, free this dark god. And I said the ending is kind of half-assed. It just happens pretty quick. There's a lot of shit that's like just there for no reason. It's like, all right, this other random ghost shows up and spits slime on the new technician guy. The possessor ghost is there for a little bit, and he's kind of dangerous, but it's like, I don't know, just a couple half-assed ghosts show up to mess shit up. Then the containment unit physically breaks open. The floor of the firehouse physically breaks open. All the ghosts get out. They manage to get the dark god on there, and they pull him into the broken containment unit that's been ripped open, and somehow the containment unit magically seals. Like, all the metal, everything's just magically seals. Even the floor of the fire station magically comes back together. Like, it didn't even make sense. That containment unit should have been like shot. Like, if anything, maybe the door should have came flowing off, and they were able to get the door back. I don't know. Like, just the whole ending was just stupid. And then everyone just kind of cheering the Ghostbusters to see. Like, did they even realize it's like it wasn't enough of New York in panic. Like, this ice is going everywhere. Like, it didn't feel like there was enough for them to know that the Ghostbusters was their only hope. Like, I don't even know how that many people even knew that the Ghostbusters saved them. I guess they just assumed that, oh, they must have saved us, even though there's hundreds of ghosts flying around the city now. I said, just there's points where it's boring. The movie takes a long time to get where it's going. I said, none of the characters, I just didn't feel invested in them. The best they could do for Finn Wolfhard's character, since his love interest was barely in it in the first movie, was have him try to catch Slimer a couple times. The mini Stay Puffs were cute in the first movie, but they, like, for absolutely no reason, they decided to bring them back in this one. The movie does have a very brief mid-credit scene where the mini Stay Puffs steal this guy's truck. To be honest, that would be the way to introduce them. Like, you don't see them all movie, and then they're at the end, and that's how they get out of, I don't even remember what state they were in the last movie, and that's how they get out into the world, and they maybe they're going to cause some trouble, but yeah, they're just in there to be in there. They're just there to be cute and probably sell some merchandise. I don't know. I kind of ran into this movie. I don't want to say, I feel like I'm kind of like I hated it. I don't want to say I hated it when I was watching it, but I was just kind of bored with it. I think I laughed like once. Like, this, it's for a comedy. There's just not much comedy there, and like nothing really works. Everybody just does their shtick, and sometimes it lands, sometimes it doesn't. But I think that's about it. Like I said, I got the non-spoiler version of this review up. I have some other reviews. I got movie reviews, TV reviews. I got my comic strip. Those are all over at soundabettermyhead.com. So if you want to check that out, that's cool. Other than that, thanks for watching.